We are really talking about a wide variety of behaviors that I tend to call sexual intrusion. Everything from catcalls on the street to sexual assault. So, if you're in your car and you see a woman and you yell out to her, "Hey baby, I'd like to do something" to her, you're claiming the right to sexualize that encounter with that woman, regardless of what the consequences might be for that woman. Working on a yes. Oh, that's the phrase that men themselves use. So if you meet with resistance from a woman, there are ways to overwhelm resistance. That's why the phrase "no" means yes and yes means anal was so intriguing. It was a reassertion of old-style patriarchy. Women say no, but they really want it. And when you have men at one of the most elite universities in the country rejecting female consent while celebrating pornographic sex, well, that shows us where we're still stuck. Now, what is the one goal of all young people in a social situation? You want to be hot. You need to be hot if you want to be part of the social scene. The alternative is social invisibility, and that is the worst sentence you can pronounce on yourself, woman or man. Let me give you an example. Two of my students stayed behind to talk to me after class, two women, and I asked them, "Do you know what happens at these frat parties?" And they sort of rolled their eyes, and I asked them, "Are you aware that there is a heightened risk of sexual assault in those spaces?" And they said, "Sure, we're not stupid, we know that, but we still go to these frat parties because that's where all the social interaction goes on." And I asked them, "Well, how do you deal with that?" And they said, sort of proudly, "We have a system. We go together and you never leave anybody behind. So if there are 5 of us, we don't leave without everyone." And I said, that's sort of interesting, because the other place where you hear that language of not leaving anybody behind is in a military situation. Now, soldiers are often very proud that they don't leave anybody behind on a battlefield, not even a body. Now that's the language of war that you are using for what's supposed to be a pleasurable social space. And when we expand this to talk about all forms of sexual intrusion, everything from catcalls on the street to sexual assault, we're looking at some underlying values of gender, sex, and power. Deeply embedded cultural values that manifest themselves differently. And as long as you have those values, you're pretty much guaranteed that there's going to be routine sexual assault and frequent sexual intrusion. Now, when I ask an audience full of women, how many of you have experienced some form of sexual intrusion in your lives? Raise your hand. Look, that's virtually 100%.